So I'm now about to finish. Let me go back here to this slide. Okay, so I'm just about to finish here. This is the last little part of Policy 1 Weapons, so Section 2 here of Lecture 9. And so this is the section on new weapons. And we've actually done a lot of this stuff because I've spoken about probably the two of the most important new weapons were included the helicopter, which we looked at in Hare, and I recommended Bob Mason's book, Chicken Hawk. And the other new weapons included, again, that had the most dramatic impact and long-lasting and brutal are the defoliants agents Orange, White, and Blue, which, as I said, were named for the color of the stripe on the drum. These are drums full of liquid fluid. And again, the idea was that if there were guerrillas hiding in the jungle, which there were, you would deny the enemy cover, as they said, which meant that they couldn't hide if there was no jungle. And that's pretty much what happened. And I'm going to show you pictures of that. Okay, so Agent Orange was sprayed on the jungles of Vietnam this way. And so this is an archival photograph of three big tankers, basically. I mean, this is their job, is they're sprayers. And here we see them. It says dissemination of herbicides, Operation Ranch Hand. Now, Ranch Hand, which I put up, it's probably over there. It's above me, but it's probably over here. Operation Ranch Hand was the name for the chemical spraying of defoliants. In this case, as you see, 19 million gallons of defoliants on the jungles of South Vietnam. Remember, they're spraying familiar territory, not enemy territory, because this is your own country you're spraying, right? That is your allies' country. And it went full of dioxin and other cancer-causing and teratogenic chemicals right onto the foliage, right into the ground, and right into the water supply. And we'll see how that worked out. And it was also literally sprayed on the troops who were told it was harmless. And you'll see, I've seen footage of guys standing around and they're pumping this stuff out oh my God, it was in a Navy, it was a little clip from a PBR, a patrol boat on the river, what they call the Riverine Navy. So these are people whose job is to patrol the rivers, which you see in Apocalypse Now. Again, another useful. They sort of got bathed in this stuff. I mean, they kind of stood around in it. I mean, it was just like sloshing about. The way it's kind of like standing in gasoline. I mean, it's tough stuff. Okay, so, what did the outcome look like? Well, here's the, let me get my head out of the way here. First, let's look at this, this poster, which was Only You Can Prevent Forest Fires. And this poster became very famous, and it was shared virally, which was very, very difficult to do since there was no digital media at all. But it made the rounds. And so here's Smokey Bear. You may know or may not know at the time, Smokey Bear with the Smokey Bear hat. That's why it was called a Smokey Bear hat, which the drill sergeants almost always wore in training. So they would say, he puts a Smokey Bear down on his nose, like this is this hat. I suppose it's on that side. God only knows where things are. So Only You Can Prevent a Forest. So this is what they posted. This is what the men posted in the units that were in charge with Ranch Hand. So now you can see behind me. Okay, now I'm no longer in the way. Here's the same piece of river with obviously with some changes to the meanders, which gives you an idea of what the before and after looked like. This must be a different section of the river. And what you have to remember is that apart from the highlands, a great deal of Vietnam's wealth really is in the lowlands, in the river, the delta, the Mekong River Delta, which opens up into this huge fan-shaped area around Saigon. That's why Saigon is where it is, because originally it would have been a trade center where you bring crops and then they can be shipped out. And usually the first, and then therefore the biggest, would become the biggest cities, are built on rivers or lakes, which are connected to other lakes and so on, because you have to be able to move stuff from one place to another. Okay, so here you can see the effects of Agent Orange. All right, I think I showed you this image before. This is Philip Jones Griffith. Okay, now I can't see it because of this freaking bar, which I don't think you can see. So Griffith was a famous Magnum photographer, and there is a book of his photographs of Vietnam, which I think we have in the library. It's hard to get now because the Magnum photographers are very famous. So again, this is Agent Orange, which you can see. It's as if it isn't bad enough that it's just been completely denuded of trees, but it also has been bombed, and that's what the craters are for. And then we get the collateral damage, quote unquote, and the collateral damage are the dioxin babies. And here they are, some of them. So in the case of the two-headed child, these are medical specimens that were, in this case, aborted, obviously, but preserved. And as far as I know, they still exist. Vietnam has actually kept them as a record of what happened. And so there are rooms full of these jars. And then here are two daughters, both of whom, as you can see, are born blind. And again, this is the teratogenic effect. Well, blind is bad, and this is bad too. How about no eyes or no arms at all? And then here are a couple more. These are all very famous images. So these are people who are born, without functioning systems at all. I mean, they just are not going to live very long. And again, here's somebody who, this woman was a fighter, and so she was drinking the water, and in this case is the kind of thing where, would purifying the water have helped? It's like, no, because dioxin is much stronger than any purification. A purification tablet, which might have iodine in it, is not going to purify the dioxin out of the water. It's poison. It's going to get in there and it's going to hack up your DNA. Now, the thing about this is that these are pictures of these people when they were children, but there are now whole towns, because they survived, of children who are no longer children, right? They're in their 40s and 50s because they were born basically at the end of the 60s. And so, yeah, they're, now, oh my God, yeah, 60, they're 60 now, or 50, 60. So there are villages of these, and the parents have died. So who's taking care of them? Well, the state, because Vietnam is a communist state, has appointed people to take care of them. So this is the real outcome of Agent Orange. If you don't remember that the nurses many of them don't have children, But if you do have children, this is what it's going to look like. And you're not going to get around this. This isn't like, oh, well, maybe I'll be lucky. It's like, no, no, in every case. So, yeah, okay.